Well, everybody, welcome to the first official episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast. Here, my good friend of mine, Ryan. Ryan, how does it feel to be on this first episode? How do you feel right now?
I feel good that that episode number one I get to be a part of. Hopefully, of a long-lasting series with many people to be on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So, last night, October 22nd, NBA's back. Had some
Interesting games.
First game was, it was interesting.
Interesting games.
As a Knicks fan, not in a good way, but I mean, let's get down into it. I mean, the Boston Celtics. I mean, nuclear. I mean,
they're a good team. I mean, Tatum played one of the best games I think I've seen from him. 14 for 18 from the field, 8 for 11 from three, plus 26. I mean, that's just numbers like you're not going to win if you're playing that.
I mean, the Celtics tied the NBA record for three-pointers made a game, 29 three-pointers. I mean, they long story short is they just want to miss. Every shot the Celtics were shooting was.
It's really, I mean, really just the starting five. If you look at the bench, I mean, Hauser 2 for 7, Pritchard 1 for 9, Tillman 0 for 3. But the starters, they lit it up.
I agree. I agree with you. At the same time, that the bench box score looked so bad because in the final 3-4 minutes of the game, they shot 13 threes and missed them all, trying to break the record. So it looks a lot worse. But
yeah, but you know what? You shot them. So
no. Listen, it still counts. It still counts as a shot, but I'm saying it looks a lot worse than it is. Like I'm saying, their 3-point percentage, 47 3-point percentage this game. Looks. They don't shoot those garbage time threes. It's
like 55, 60.
It's a lot higher. I mean, Jason Tatum goes crazy, 37 points. Derek White 24. Jaylen Brown 23. I mean, just an amazing performance offensively. Joe Mazzulla had them prepared. I mean, there's nothing more you can ask for the Celtics in that game.
I'm gonna start off this by saying I'm not in love with those Knicks trades that they did. I think Mikal's good. I don't think he was worth everything you gave up for. Cat, I don't think you lost that trade necessarily, but I don't think he's going to be as good as many Knicks fans are expecting him to be. He'll be a good center, not a great center. And unfortunately for the Knicks, that's what they need. So I think for the time being, they'll win. They'll make the playoffs. I don't really have a doubt about that, but I don't think they have enough to really go far in this season.
I mean, let me just ask you this: what makes you say that? Because I'm just saying, if you're looking at the game one performance, this is if you put two big pieces as Mikal Bridges and an all-star, all-NBA player, Karl Anthony Towns on a new team, it's game one against the reigning NBA champions. It's honestly, it's not gonna look pretty.
Agreed. Agreed. And I think obviously as the dynamic, as the season goes on, the dynamic will get better. But let's just look at this trade for Mikal. So they got Mikal, Bates Diop, and a second for Bojan, Shake Milton, 4 firsts, a top 4 protected first, a pick swap, and a second. Now, again, I mean, I'm not saying Mikal Bridges is bad, but he's not worth 4 unprotected firsts, a top 4 protected first, and 2 extra picks along with Bojan. I mean, come on. You have to agree. 4 first-round picks, a protected first, 2 picks, and Bojan. No one. I mean,
I'll say this: Bojan, I don't value Bojan. He's at the end of his career.
Correct.
He's at the end of his career. He's a defensive liability. I mean, he just got surgery this past offseason, and offensively, I mean, he's good, but again, I don't really see any value in him, especially because I think retirement is near for him. And you can look at the picks, but you got to think about Mikal Bridges. Maybe the defense in it showed last year on a bad defensive Brooklyn team, but Mikal Bridges 2 years ago was, I think, second or third in Defensive Player of the Year voting. I mean, in today's NBA, every team every team wants a 3-and-D wing. Every team. And the Knicks got that Mikal Bridges. You can look at the draft capital they gave up. Yeah, I mean, it might be a lot, but at the same time, you have one of the best defensive wing duos in basketball. And I mean, listen, you're trying to go for a championship. Maybe you can make the argument they gave him a little bit too much, but again, at the end of the day, if you get a ring, you get a ring.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's always how it goes, right? If you make a trade and people don't like it, if you win a championship, then it doesn't matter, does it? But again, it's only game one. I didn't love what I saw out of New York, but I guess we'll have to see how far that goes.
I mean, some things in the Knicks game that, I mean, listen, it's game one. I mean, for the first few games, they're going to be, trying to work through things, especially with a new roster. You're trying to get acclimated. Knicks got some injuries, so they're just trying to do their thing, But some things I think they need to improve from just watching the game. I mean, got to get Cat the ball. Got to get OG the ball. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is your second best player. OG Anunoby is your third best player. I mean, they need to get the ball more. I mean, I think you need to give, especially Cat, you need to give him more touches. Especially since Celtics were putting Drew Holiday on him. They're running with Drew Holiday, having Al Horford on Josh Hart. I think you need to utilize that mismatch. Cat is such a great offensive big man. You need to get him the basketball. That's one thing I want to see more going forward. I know it was only game one, but just something I noticed that you need to utilize.
Yeah, I mean, Brunson with 2 assists. I mean, as the point guard, is not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. I mean, he shot well, 9 for 14, 1 for 2 from 3, but minus 23, 2 assists, no steals. It's. I mean, it was a bad game from the Knicks.
It was. I mean, when you're playing a powerhouse team listen, they definitely could have played better. 100% could have played better. Especially, honestly, I don't really have, besides not getting Cat and OG the ball, I really don't have that big of a problem with their offensive game. I mean, they shot 55% from the field. They shot 37% from 3, 75% from the free throw line. I mean, listen, I honestly don't think it was a bad offensive game. I mean, defensively, though, listen, the Celtics went nuclear, but that was a terrible defensive performance. I mean, like I said, only game one, but going forward, seeing Thibs' defensive scheme of him running drop coverage on Celtics, who are leading the league in so many categories in the three-point department last year, running drop coverage on them, just it blows my mind. Yeah. Like, why are you running drop coverage? Especially, listen, if you run at the start, that's fine. But if you see it's not working, I mean, Celtics had like 40 points in the first quarter. If you see it's not working, that's when, as a coach, you need to adjust and say, all right,
Yeah, change the plan.
Yeah, change the game plan. I mean, listen, like I said, game one, don't want to see that again, especially Knicks got a great offensive Indiana team coming in to Madison Square Garden Friday night. I don't want to see any more drop coverage against this good of an offensive team.
Yeah, I mean, the team they beat in the playoffs last year. But the team that gave him a lot of fight.
Yeah. Also, Jericho Sims. I was vouching all offseason for either the Knicks to sign another center or for them to trade Mitchell Robinson and get back a center. Just do something. Because I got to say, it was Jericho Sims' performance. It may not show on the box score, but if you saw the game, it was not pretty. It was actually pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no big man depth on this Knicks team. You got McBride, Kolek, and Payne on the bench to back up the guards, but I mean, Sims, Hook Porty, Toppin, I mean, those guys just aren't going to cut it when they're in the game. I mean, only Sims really got big minutes out of those, but it's not going to cut it running a one big man rotation.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem. I mean, you have Cat obviously, and I mean you have Sims, you have Huck Porty, and I mean Knicks could run small ball with Precious, but he's out 2 to 4 weeks with a hamstring. So not only are you missing Mitch with surgery, you're missing Precious with a hamstring. And my argument here is, if you're not going to bring in another big man, I'd rather you play a big man like Huck Porty than you play Sims, because Huck Porty is he was almost the last pick in the NBA draft. He's a rookie, and throughout preseason, he's looked good. He's looked good, and I mean, Sims is a few years into the NBA, and I haven't seen enough from him to say, all right, you're the backup center. When honestly, outside of him having a crazy vertical and dunking, I don't know what he provides on the basketball court.
Not much. Not much. I mean, he had 9 rebounds, but that doesn't tell the story.
Yeah. Listen, box score is one thing. Game, watching is another thing. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just bad outing for the Knicks. Insane game from Boston. I mean,
and that's the reigning champs. That's what
that's the reigning champs. I mean, when you're coming into a game already depleted, new roster, I mean, this is kind of going to happen. But you go forward. Got another game Friday.
So let's move on to this Lakers-Timberwolves game that I don't know if many people expected the Lakers to win with this Timberwolves roster, but I think the main concern was this: how is Randall going to fit? Game 1, it was rough. I don't think him and Edwards gelled well. I mean, Edwards took a lot of shots. DiVincenzo didn't play well at all. But it was really just a poor shooting game by both teams. More of a defensive game. Timberwolves 41% from the field. Lakers 44%. Lakers 16% from 3.
Oh my gosh.
But the Lakers aren't a 3-point shooting team. They don't really have.
They haven't been known as a 3-point shooting team. I don't even know since 2020. They're not. That's it. They're just not a 3-point shooting team.
Yeah, I mean, and this is another team that I think their bench depth is the only thing holding them back. Jackson Hayes isn't bad, but I just don't think he's great. I don't think he's good enough.
I don't. I think Jackson Hayes is solid. He reminds me of Jericho Sims. He's like that big man with crazy athleticism for a 5. One thing I do like about Jackson Hayes is his ability to get in passing lanes. That might be.
He's long.
Yeah, that might be my favorite thing he can do, get in passing lanes. I mean, Max Christie. I actually like Max Christie. I think he's an up and coming 3-and-D wing. I mean, he's 6'5", 6'6", can shoot the ball, can defend. I think he's 21, 22, if I'm not mistaken. He's a very young player. I think he's got more room to develop. Dalton Connect, 2 for 4, 1 for 3 from 3. Solid.
And I guess let's go to the elephant in the room, Bronny James.
I mean, we're not doing this, dude.
I personally, from what I've seen in college, and from what I've seen in preseason, do not think he belongs in the NBA. At least not yet. I don't think he's done anything where people should put his name in NBA conversations. When you look at his numbers in college, they were not good. And then he goes to the preseason and he does just as bad. But for some reason, and everybody knows the reason, obviously, because LeBron's son, but he's just getting minutes and he's not performing. So I don't know. I mean, he didn't get many minutes. It's not like they're giving him a lot of minutes, but I don't think that, at least for now, he belongs in the NBA. I think he should have stayed in college. I think he should have developed more because I just don't think he's ready.
I mean, I think not just you, but I see a bunch of haters. I mean, everywhere, and I gotta say, I mean, listen, it's because he's LeBron's son. It's because
that's what I'm saying.
He's LeBron's son, and people hate LeBron. People always hated LeBron, and now Bronny's in the NBA. People are gonna hate him. I mean,
yeah, but here's my thing. It's not much hating LeBron and hating Bronny.
You know that is a decent part of it because you're asking a 21-year-old second round pick, one of the last picks in the NBA draft, to come in, and you want him to produce right away. When listen, college, you're right. He didn't play good. I mean, there's no other way around. He didn't play that good. But again, what are Are you looking for offensive production? Like, what exactly are you looking for
all right,
from him?
so here in 25 games at USC, he averaged about 19 minutes a game. So he played about half the game. He shot 36% from the field, which is not good at all. He shot 26%, 27% from three, which is low. 67% at the line. Only averaged 5 points, less than a steal a game, less than a block a game, and 3 rebounds. What numbers there in one season of college get you to the NBA? No one goes one and done in college for putting up 5, 2, and 2. It just doesn't happen. So again, I'm not hating on Bronny. I'm not hating on LeBron. I think that the whole point of him being in the NBA he shouldn't be there. He should not be there.
I mean, listen, he going into college, coming out of college, he wasn't a good prospect. I mean, he wasn't going to be one of those guys like, I don't know, guys who go to college and are just a one and done. But he did do that. He felt like he was ready. He felt like he would be better working with NBA coaches than college coaches. So he went to the NBA. I mean, Lakers drafted him, of course, because LeBron, all that stuff. But, Bronny coming into the NBA, he's a defensive guy. His thing in his career will be defense. It will not be his offense. I like his defensive upside. I'll say that. I think it's good defensive upside. I mean, in preseason, in summer league, he's made good plays defensively. I think that's where you look at Bronny and say, that's going to be his calling in the NBA. Defense.
I agree, but to some extent, like, you have to have offense. And, like, you can be as good as defense as you want. If you're a liability on offense, if you're getting left open, like, you're going to hurt the team. You're going to hurt the team because that makes the defensive plan for the other team so much easier.
Well, listen, he played 3 minutes, and you know why they played him this game.
Right, and like I said, they didn't like abuse him. They didn't put him in for half the game. I get it. All I was saying is I think it was bad by LeBron to let him into the league because I think LeBron wanted to play with him more than actually Bronny being good. And if he wanted Bronny to be good and get like him, he should have left him in college because
it's not LeBron. By the way, it's not LeBron's decision. Bronny made LeBron.
I agree.
Well, listen, LeBron said he'll let. I'm pretty sure he said he'll let Bronny kind of like make this decision himself, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So I mean,
I'm not blaming Bron 100% at all, but
obviously Bron wants that. Like that's why
Right.
that's why he got drafted to the Lakers. That's why he's on the Lakers. I mean, so Bron can play with him, but I think the whole thing is LeBron let Bronny decide. Bronny probably felt like he was ready, and I think LeBron also was fine with it because I think he trusts the coaches in the NBA more than he does in college. I mean, the USC. Look at that USC season last year. Look at the talent they had, and look at them. I mean, Isaiah Collier. He was, if I'm not mistaken, a year or two ago, he was a projected top 5 pick. He
was one of the top.
He fell towards the late part of the first round. I mean, coming into the year, the amount of talent USC had, they looked like a powerhouse. And look at what was USC's record last year?
It was below 500, or it was about 500. It was not good.
Like I said, so I'm gonna assume LeBron felt like Bronny going to the NBA with him being able to learn together and learn from the coaches is probably better than just staying at USC. So I mean, there's that, but we'll see how he does. I mean, I think he's gonna spend some time in the G League, obviously, improving from there. But yeah, there's that. Going to the Lakers starting lineup though, AD dominated. I mean, 36 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks, 11 for 23, 15 free throws, 13 for 15, 1 for 3 from 3. To no surprise, AD is that guy. I think he's a top 5 player in basketball. I think what he does on the court is insane, especially defensively. And he's going against Rudy Gobert, who, in my opinion, I don't think Rudy Gobert is very good.
I mean,
Especially, he just got an extension last night.
I mean, Luka cooked him in the playoffs last year, and it's just, I think the hype over him is way too much.
You know it's bad. You know it's bad when in that moment in the playoffs, Luka wanted his whole thing was switch Gobert onto me.
Right, that was the plan.
That's terrible.
He said, "Give me the defensive player of the year," and he took him 1-on-1.
Listen, I'm not gonna completely hate on Rudy Gobert. Great interior defender, great shot blocker, but I think he's overrated.
Right. I think he's a good player, but I think a lot of these people think he's a great player.
Yeah, good, not great. Yeah, I don't know. I was never a big fan of him. I don't know. Anthony Edwards, not that great either.
Not the great shooting splits.
Julius Randle, debut for the Wolves. 5 for 10, 1 for 3. I saw a quote today that Rui said that he was extra aggressive tonight because they know Randle stands around. Basically saying Randle's a liability on defense.
Maybe he is. Listen, he's definitely not one of the league's top defenders.
No, he's not. I don't. He's a big body, but I don't know.
No steals, no blocks.
DiVincenzo, not a good showing.
Not a good showing in game 1. 32 minutes and nothing to show for it. 10 points.
Listen, it was a close game. Definitely a better game. Definitely the better game tonight.
Yeah, better of the two games on opening night, for sure.
But yeah, we got some NBA games coming up tonight.
A lot of NBA games coming up tonight. 12, it looks like. We got 12 games coming up tonight.
12 games. We got Bucks, Sixers. No Joel Embiid, no Paul George. This is the concern with Philly. This is why even when Paul George signed with them, I wasn't scared or anything. I don't fear Philly at all. I think they lack depth. I think Paul George has to perform in the playoffs. Joel Embiid,
they lack health.
Solid. That's the main thing. They lack health. I don't think the big three model in the NBA works anymore. I think you can't run a big three model.
No, it depends, but unless it's like a point guard, small forward, center, big three, it's not going to work.
But even then, point guard, small forward, center, depth is so important for obviously health and in the playoffs. Because I'm saying, in the playoffs, you're relying on your big three, and let's say one guy out of your big three is having a terrible series. It's more of a workload on your other two stars.
Well, of course.
I just don't see it working.
You could have a big three and then still have role players. It's not like you have a big three and then everybody else is trash. It's just
but again, today's stars in the NBA, they're getting a bag.
Well, that's the problem with all sports. Not even just basketball. All sports. These people want a bag. Maybe we'll get to it later, but Igor with the Rangers and just
don't even
Pete Alonso with the Mets. These guys want a bag, and it's not everybody deserves it. So we'll maybe we'll talk some contracts later about that. But that's the problem with all sports is you can't build a good team anymore because everybody wants to take up the whole salary, and unfortunately that hurts some teams more than others. But
yeah, like I said, if you run the big three model, your stars are going to get paid a shit ton. A good example is, they're definitely better now. They've definitely added some more depth over the past 2 seasons, but the Phoenix Suns. Your third option, Bradley Beal, which don't get me wrong, I like Bradley Beal. I think he's a good player, but again, he's getting paid north of $50 million. For your third option. I think KD's going to pay 50. I think Book is probably right near there. Right off the bat, 3 guys on your roster, your salary cap is
gone.
So that's what I'm saying. That's why also a team like Phoenix, regular season, they'll be good. They'll be a good team. But once playoff time comes, you won't see Phoenix going far or see Phoenix winning anything.
Yeah. So Booker's at 49 mil, Beal's at 50, and KD's at 51.
Again, that's that's majority of your salary cap to 3 players who, keep in mind, 2 of them I mean, Book can play the point, but two of them are guards. One of them is a small forward. Katie's up there in age. Beal is close up there in age.
Yeah, Beal's 31, Katie's 36.
It's not.
I mean, then you're paying Nurkic $18 million. It's not an $18 million center.
He's not.
He's just
that was just a bad contract in general. I mean, Portland gave him that. So I mean, the fact that they were able to trade him, good for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Portland's still going to be bad. I think they're still going to miss the playoffs, but I think they're starting to trend in the right direction with their young depth and guys that they got. Let's see.
Who are you looking at?
Portland. You know, they got Denny. He's good. Nothing great, but he's good. Ayton, I mean, again, 18's not worth $34 million in my opinion. You know, they got Jeremy Grant. They just got Klingon. They got Scoot. A lot of nice young depth on this team. Shaedon Sharp is still only 21. Simons is 25. So they got a lot of young depth. Again, I don't particularly seeing them making the playoffs. If they do, maybe as a play-in. But they're definitely trending in the right direction, which is what you want to see for a team that was in the Western Conference Finals in like 2019. So that's good to see out of Portland, just trending it up.
I mean, I like Portland. I want to see them though.
Yeah,
I don't know what their starting lineup's going to be, but what I do want to see, I want to see a starting lineup of Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharp, and Anthony Simons. I think normally I'm not a big fan of three guards, but I think if you have three guards that talented, and I mean for an up and coming team, I think that all three of them should start. I think they should play big minutes, and
it might be them three, and then you put Jeremy Grant at the 4 and Ayton at the 5, and then that's your starting 5 right there.
That's the thing. If I'm Portland, I'm trading Jeremy Grant. I think his contract's big. I think he's getting old.
Yeah,
I think
a big contract.
I would trade him. And DeAndre Ayton, I've never been a fan of DeAndre Ayton.
I was never a fan of DeAndre Ayton.
I was never a fan of him.
College.
And I mean, you draft the Klingon, and Klingon in the preseason, if I'm not mistaken, he was solid.
He was solid.
He was solid in the preseason. I think
I'm not a fan of him in the sense I've seen a lot of college, and I don't think he's quick enough for some of these centers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the athletic centers, but I think he'll hold his own. He's a big boy. He's let's see, Klingon. He's 7'2", 280. I mean, that's a big boy. So I think he's gonna hold his own. He's gonna do well. He's just not gonna be able to switch on any screens because if he gets on a guard, I mean it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, pick and rolls are going to be his weakness.
Yeah.
Pick and pops. I mean, all that stuff.
And that was his weakness in college. He would foul out or get close to fouling out a lot because he can't stick with some of these guys. So that's something to watch out for. But other than that, I mean, a great young solid team that the Portland has. Like I said, if not this year, maybe next year. Even Chris Murray, you got 24 years old.
They just traded for Denny, who I like.
Denny.
I like Denny. Denny's a do-it-all. I think you can have so many do-it-all guys. I mean, he could do everything on the court. I mean, he can finish, he could shoot, rebound, defense, a little bit of defense. It's
right. I mean, he's 23. As much as I'm not a fan of Ayton, I mean, he's only 26. Klingon 20, Scoot 20. You got Rupert, who's 20, Sharp, who's 21, Simons 25. And then you got Thibault, still a defensive guy who's only 27. So a lot to look forward to in this Portland team.
I'll say this. I wasn't a big fan of the Klingon pick when it first happened, but I think I like it a little more, especially if maybe at the trade deadline or next offseason they trade Ayton. I think Portland is trending in a good direction, but I think it all depends on Scoot Henderson. I think if he takes that jump, then I think you can start making an argument that Portland is a great up-and-coming team. But like I said, it all depends on him. It all depends on what he does.
Yeah, he needs to have a big year because last year was not one he wants to remember.
Nets Hawks tonight. I mean, Nets want to lose every game. Hawks, they got Trae Young. They got Zachary Richey, but
they're a disappointing team every year. Every year they'll go somewhere, but they just don't have the talent to keep going.
I mean, you gotta trade Trey. I think you gotta restart at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what was going through their heads. That Luka for Trae Young trade, I think, was the worst thing they ever did. I think that killed their franchise.
I mean, yeah, Luka's obviously the superior player, but I mean, it wasn't like, oh, they got like
obviously not at the time.
They got an All NBA All Star guard.
Yes, but
listen, yes,
you have somebody who I think he should have won MVP last year. Luka, I think that was. I mean, the numbers he put up compared.
They say this every year. I see the same shit. That's like, oh, Luka's winning the MVP this year. I think I've seen it for the past 3 years.
I don't know about the past. Not last year, the following two before that, but I mean, last year. Like, let's just look at last year's stats. Last year, this man averaged 34 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds. I just don't know how at 34, 10, and 9, while averaging a steal and a half a game, you're not the MVP of the league. I just don't know. 38% from three, 49% from the field. I mean, there's really not much better numbers you could put up than that in a single season. And
you're saying you should have won it last year?
Yeah.
I think Jokic won it. I mean, my opinion, I think that should have been Shea's award. I mean, number one. They were number one in a very hard Western Conference. Shea balled out completely. Yeah, very young team.
But again, it's you either have to go by, is it the most valuable player to the team, or is it the person with the best stats? So if you're going with the person with the best stats, it's Luka. If you're going with the person who's most valuable to the team, yeah, maybe Shea has a little advantage. I don't think a huge advantage, but you take Luka out of that offense. Like, yeah, you have Kyrie, but it's not the same. It's not the same at all.
It's definitely close, but like I said, this past year I would give Shea the advantage because, I mean, you do take out Luka, you do have one of the best point guards in basketball still on your team. While, I mean, you do have a lot of vets on Dallas too. I mean, the Thunder were young, if not the youngest team in basketball last year. So you take out Shea, they're not the number one seed. I mean, matter of fact, they're probably not even in the play-in.
Yeah, I mean, but if Shea won it this year, then he probably should have won it the year prior because he averaged more points the year prior. Assists and rebounds were, I mean, just like tenths off, about the same. Steals and blocks, again, pretty much about the same.
But what was the Thunder's record?
22. I don't know. I don't know what they were in 2022, 23, but
let's see.
But just looking at Shea and Luka side by side, I mean, Luka had averaged 4 more points, 4 more assists, 4 more rebounds, shot better from 3, and shot worse from the field. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, that's a lot, of averages. 4, 4, and 4.
And what was Dallas's record?
Let me see. Dallas last year, I mean, what were they, a 5 seed?
I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see. Dallas, Mavs. 23, 24. 46 and 36.
Well, what placement would that be?
I don't know. I'm pulling it up.
That would be the 5th seed. So 50 and 30. Their last seed were 50 and 32. That'd be the 5th seed. Thunder were 57 and 25, first seed. And I mean, listen, the year before, the Thunder were 40 and 42, and that placed them in the 10th seed. So I mean, no one's gonna win the MVP at the 10th seed. So that's the thing. I know you were saying like, oh, if you
right, but
if
so
you
then,
were gonna
so
win
then
it
let me
last
ask you
year,
this: if he put up the same exact numbers and they're a much better team, obviously he's not the reason they're a much better team.
Obviously, they had more pieces. I mean, they got Chet back. Their young guys improved more, but he was the leader of the team. He won the many big games. So I think he was their guy. Like I said, I think it's close between Shea and Luka. So week 7 of the NFL, very eventful week. A lot of games. I'll start with this. My Giants got bitched to the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean,
Terrible. Probably the most frustrated I've been with a Giants game this season. I mean, 28-3 they lose. Saquon just completely annihilates them, runs all over them. I mean, if he stayed in the game, he probably would have got above 200 yards.
Yeah,
close to breaking his career high. It's insane. It's insane. Daniel Jones surprisingly got benched the last few minutes because Brian Dable was looking for a spark. Listen, Daniel Jones is a terrible quarterback. And listen, I'm not saying Drew Lock's good because I know Drew Lock's bad too. But my point is, Daniel Jones is so beyond cooked to the point where I feel like the Giants need to move forward with Drew Lock at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a situation they put themselves in, the Giants, because I just think they were giving him way too many chances. I think from a couple of years ago, he should have been gone. And I think there were a lot of people that knew that, but a lot of people that wanted to let Daniel Jones ride and see how he does. And it's just starting to bite them. He's just not good enough to win you a game. And I agreed. I don't think Drew Lock's the guy either. I think maybe as a placeholder, but it hurts seeing that he's still there because he should have never been there for this long to begin with.
He shouldn't. I mean, but this is what happens when you give him a 4-year, $160 million contract. I mean, but at the same time, I would have benched him. I would have benched him weeks ago. I mean, over the past 2 weeks, he's put up a combined 10 points. 10 points. 3 this game, 7 last game. That's horrendous. That's horrendous.
I've seen stats of that, like, there's been NHL players that have scored a goal in the
Yes,
net.
I saw that. I saw that sleeper posted that.
More recently than he's thrown a touchdown pass.
I mean, Trocheck is scoring more than Daniel Jones is in MetLife. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Daniel, it's basically, this is it. Dable said Daniel Jones is going to start this week, Monday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to do it. I wouldn't do it.
Problem is, to your point, listen, I think Drew Lock as a placeholder is fine, but you don't have a quarterback. So
you need to go out and get a quarterback. Listen, long story short is this offseason, it's quarterback. If it's not going to be in free agency, you got to trade for one. If it's not going to be a trade, you got to draft one. There's a lot of options here, and you just got to get a quarterback. You got to cut Daniel Jones. You got to cut him. They've been out in his contract this year. Could give them more than $25 million in cap space. Yeah. You got to get rid of him. But just for the time being, I would start Drew Lock. I think they need a different look. Like Dable said, they need a spark, and they do need a spark. 10 points over the past 2 games. That's horrendous.
I think they don't have many touchdowns this year. I think they scored a decent amount in that Browns game, but other than that Browns game, I think, let's see, so they played Minnesota, no touchdown. They played Washington, no touchdown. Or no, they did. They scored 3 touchdowns, no extra points. Cleveland, they scored 1. So, they have scored. No touchdowns at home.
Daniel Jones, since he got his contract, has not thrown a touchdown at MetLife Stadium. That's almost 2 years.
Yeah,
that's mind blowing. That's absolutely insane. Like I said, Daniel Jones is cooked. I would start Lock. I think it's a terrible decision to start Daniel Jones on Monday Night Football. You're missing your All-Pro left tackle. You're starting Joshua Azidu, who got destroyed in Philadelphia. He got destroyed in Philadelphia, and now you're going up against a good Pittsburgh Steelers. Not only defense, they got Russell Wilson there, and last week he he went crazy. So you got Russell Wilson in there. This isn't Justin Fields where it's going to be run, majority run. Now you got the run game. Najee went off last week, and now you got Russell Wilson passing. This is going to be a very hard game for the Giants, and especially Daniel Jones. I think this is a week I bench him, especially because Daniel Jones has an injury clause in his contract. If Daniel Jones goes down with an injury, his contract is guaranteed. So this could mess up the Giants this season and their future. If he goes down with injury, they're basically, not only are the Giants cooked, Dable will get fired, guaranteed. Joe Shane will get fired, guaranteed. And like I said, against a great Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and with your O-line last week struggling, it concerns me to play him in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the brightest decision, but I think it's a decision that they're going to rock with.
I think it makes zero sense. I mean, like I said, offense cooked badly. Defense, though, on the defensive end, Dexter Lawrence, 9 sacks for a nose tackle, leading the NFL in sacks. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. Like I said, he's a future. He's on future Hall of Fame trajectory.
Well, yeah, I mean, he'll make the Hall of Fame.
He's insane. I mean, what he's doing is mind-blowing. I mean, Brian Burns, he's been on an absolute roll the past 5 weeks. He's cooking.
It's unfortunate because their D-line is so good, and it's just not backed up by anything. I mean, they have. I mean, like, you know, ESPN has Burns as a linebacker, even though he's an edge rusher really, and I mean, yeah, Micah and I mean Aziz again linebacker, but more of an edge rusher. But
so, where are you saying they lack?
Secondary. They lack secondary big time.
Listen, I'll say this.
And
Nubin has actually been very solid. I think Nubin's actually been very solid. Pinnock is also solid. I think I have no problems with the Giants safeties. Cornerbacks, on the other hand, that's where we got a problem. Drew Phillips is great. Drew Phillips was a home run hit by Joe Shane. It's PFF. Take it with a grain of salt. I even start taking it with a grain of salt now, but he's ranked as a top 10 cornerback in football. And just from watching the games, I fully understand why. His vision is great. He's a dog on the field. I love Drew Phillips. Deonte Banks, it's the inconsistencies. He's very inconsistent. And last game, I don't know if you saw, there was a big, bad effort play. Jalen Hurts was on a run. He didn't go for a tackle on him. He gave Jalen Hurts 5 extra yards. Jalen Hurts got it in bounds. He didn't go to tackle him. He was just jogging to him.
Yeah,
and I mean, that's the problem. I love Banks. I think he could still be a good quarterback in the NFL. But my problem is that he's inconsistent. He's been having effort problems this season, and you got that's one of your cornerbacks. You got your nickel cornerback, and look at your cornerback too. That's the problem.
Well,
I mean, who's starting at quarterback 2 for the Giants? I mean, Cordell Flott's injured. Adoree Jackson's injured. You have Nick McLeod starting at cornerback 2. That is horrendous.
Yeah, but you can't even go. I mean, yes, but you know, you can't go off injuries because like going into the season, like you had guys and then.
I mean, going into the season, either way, quarterback 2 was such a big hole.
Well, I think all cornerbacks were such a big hole. I mean, I know Deonte Banks with the inconsistency, but
Drew Phillips is very good.
Outside of Drew Phillips, I don't watch many Giants games, but I started 2 more now because of neighbors. But it's just bad. It's bad, and yeah, I mean, again, you like the safeties. I haven't seen enough. I haven't watched enough of the games.
I think they're like I said. I think the safeties are solid. I think cornerback is Banks inconsistencies. Cornerback 2 is a big hole. Gotta get a guy there. I mean,
for sure.
That's also the problem with Joe Shane. I mean, coming into the season, everyone was begging to get a cornerback, and that's been such a big weakness and such a big problem this season. The lack of cornerback depth.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's basically it. I mean, Giants need a quarterback. Giants need a CB2. And honestly, they need a wide receiver too, because all these tensions on Neighbors, and Wan'Dale Robinson's a gadget guy. I mean, you can't be asking a gadget receiver to be your wide receiver too. That's just the moral of the story.
And then you have Slayton. But that's another story.
Again, Slayton's another guy where he's just. If I had to describe Slayton, I'd say he's just solid. He's just solid. I mean, you know what you're going to get from him. He's not going to be a star guy. He's not going to be terrible. He's just average. He's an average guy. But I'm saying that's the problem. The Giants need better. The Giants need another guy. And I mean, that's how Malik Neighbors almost got a concussion, because he was the guy every play. They knew where the ball was going. Daniel Jones was throwing him hospital passes, and he ended up getting concussed in the Dallas game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the problem is that the Giants, and I think it was a great pick taking Neighbors, and I don't fault them at all, but I think they just keep putting off quarterback for too long that you finally get one receiver, and now that's your only guy. And I think with a good quarterback, you could work with what you have. I mean, look at Mahomes. Like, a lot of his guys are hurt. Like, he's doing what he has to do. And I know you're not going to get, obviously, the Mahomes don't just come and go, but guys like that, like, they do what they got to do with the guys. So, again, I don't disagree with the Neighbors pick at all, but I don't know if it was the right time to go for a wide receiver like that, because you're putting him through way too much. And
honestly, I don't mind the Neighbors pick, and the reason I'm saying that is because the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft are on the board. Caleb was off the board. Jaden was off the board. Drake May was off the board. I mean, who was left?
Drake May.
Drake May's gonna be good. Drake May's gonna be good. I mean, he's on a bad Pats team, and even this past week, he looked very solid.
I like Drake May. I think I don't know why he's not playing to begin with.
I mean, he's playing now. He's starting.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah.
But I don't know why Jacoby Brissett ever got the nod over.
I mean, they wanted to give him time. And listen, I have no problem even, like I said, for a few weeks, if you're going to bench the rookie quarterback, let him learn for a little bit in game, stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. But it goes back to what I said. Top 3 quarterbacks are off the board. You're there at 6. Neighbors is there. Are you going to reach for a quarterback because you desperately need one? Or are you going to get a wide receiver that you had ranked highly, who was arguably the wide receiver one in the class?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I agree with the Neighbors pick. I think that was the right pick. I think that was the only pick. But if I were the Giants, I would have just seen, and maybe they did, and I don't know, but I would have seen if I could trade back just a little, get a little trade capital, maybe get an extra pick or 2 in there, and draft Penix or Bo Nix, because I mean that's what you need. I mean, Bo Nix, I don't think he's playing particularly well, but he's doing what he's got to do. I mean, the Broncos are a team that no one thought was going to be like...
The Broncos roster has actually been very solid. Their defense has been very good.
And that's what I'm saying. And Bo Nix is just going in there and he's playing the Brock Purdy role. He's doing what he has to do and just winning games.
But that's the thing.
And then...
the Brock Purdy... There's no offense to Brock Purdy or any quarterback, but it's hard to have a Brock Purdy guy. And he's not even on Brock Purdy's level. He could get there.
Who?
Bo Nix.
Well, not yet, of course, obviously.
He can get there, but I'm saying you want a quarterback who you're going to look at and say, he's going to go out there, he's going to win you games. It's like Caleb Williams, he will go out there and win Chicago games. Drake May, he will be the reason Patriots win games. Even Jaden Daniels.
Well, Jaden Daniels is the reason that, I mean, we'll get into that in
I'm just saying, if you're drafting a quarterback at that pick, you want a guy who's going to be your leader of the franchise. You don't want a Brock Purdy at that pick. I think that's.
I mean, I think Penix is going to be. I mean, he's on the older side at 24, but I think Atlanta got a good one there. I mean, Kirk Cousins is good. I would have never traded or done whatever that you got to do to get Kirk Cousins, because you knew what you were doing. You knew you were going to draft Penix, and benching Penix to let him develop is fine. It's fine.
I like what they did.
And I don't hate that, because I think, but at the end of the day, you got to realize, I mean, Penix is 24. So you let him develop, he's going to be 25, and it's like, he's getting up there. Like, how long are you going to let him? I mean, McCarthy's only 21. Unfortunately, the injury, we won't, but Sam Darnold's doing a great job there.
He's been on the downhill a little bit.
Well,
it hasn't been particularly great.
Well, right. I mean, you can't expect Sam Darnold to have a full season of that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
so
people thought he was like, oh, he's back for good. Like, nah. Like, I mean, I'd say he's an above average quarterback. I'm not saying he's great.
Yeah,
he's an above average quarterback, I'd say. But yeah, with what the Falcons did, I actually love that. I think David's suffering with quarterback problems for so long, so they said, let's go out there and draft Penix. We like him. Let's go sign Kirk Cousins and have you start Kirk Cousins right now. I mean, they're 4-3. I mean, but then you have Penix
But
developing in the back.
an ad division, so that's okay to be 4-3 right now.
Yeah, I mean, so my point is, I like what the Falcons did. I mean, they really wanted to get this quarterback position right, and what they did, getting Kirk Cousins and Penix, they're solidifying it for the future, which
Yeah,
I like
I
that.
like it.
I respect it. But yeah, I mean, listen, we got a trade today, which
Yeah.
should be pretty fun to watch.
I
DeAndre
just-
Hopkins is a Kansas City Chief. That I wouldn't say it surprised me when I saw it. I mean, Chiefs receiving core is completely depleted.
completely depleted.
I think there's no point of keeping D-Hop if you're the Titans. I mean, you're going to have a losing season. Will Levis isn't playing good. You know you need another quarterback. It was smart to trade D-Hop to a team that needs a wideout. So, yeah, it's DeAndre Hopkins for a fifth-round pick that goes to a fourth if Kansas City makes the Super Bowl and if Hopkins plays 60% of the snaps. So, fifth-round pick, fourth-round pick. I want your opinion on it. I personally like the deal. I think D-Hop still has some juice left in the tank.
I think he has some juice left in the tank. I mean, I don't think nearly to what he used to do, but I think enough with Mahomes to get it done.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, overall, good trade. Think this will be big for Kansas City. I think it'll actually be very fun. I think you'll see D-Hop getting more involved, which, I mean, he wasn't really involved last year or even really this year with Will Levis at quarterback. So it'll be cool, watching that connection and all. And yeah, I mean, there's some rumors actually about another wide receiver potentially being traded. Rams want to trade him, Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I've seen a lot about that.
I mean, in my opinion, I think they should. I mean, Rams are, as a team, their defense isn't that good. I just don't think they're in a good spot. Cooper Kupp's getting old.
Why not? Rebuilding.
Why not get value for him now?
You're right. Don't wait.
I will get value for him now. And even then, you're going to be... Listen, you could say what you want about the quarterbacks, but there are a few of them in this draft that I look at and I say they have good potential. So if the Rams are getting a top 5 pick, Stafford's 36, he'll be 37 next year. Might as well go ahead and get a quarterback and trade Stafford. Get value for Stafford. Can be a bridge quarterback for like 2 to 3 years. He can be a good bridge quarterback.
Right, or keep him and let that back.
Yeah, or you can let the rookie quarterback develop, whichever one. But I think Cooper Kupp, I think you trade him, especially because you do have Puka.
Yeah, I think you got to make that trade.
I think you trade him. I mean, in your opinion, what do you think would be the best fit for Kupp?
Well, I think there's a lot of fits. I think there's a lot of teams that need receivers. When you're looking at the list, like how many guys need a wide receiver 2 or even a wide receiver 1 for that matter? I mean, look at the Browns right now. I mean, you traded away Amari Cooper. It's like, I know they're in a position where they're not really going for the playoffs, but just a team like that, I mean, a lot of the playoff teams aren't particularly in the need for a receiver. Mm-hmm. But even the Packers, I think. I mean, I like Jaden Reed. I don't love Jaden Reed. So I think if you could give Jordan Love another threat, that would be huge. The Bills, they just got Amari Cooper. Seahawks have guys.
Yep.
I mean, maybe even the Broncos. Like, I know, like, you have Cortland Sutton and you have some of these guys, but I don't know. I think that would change the dynamic a little bit. Maybe even the Commanders. I mean, the Commanders are 5-2.
Commanders should definitely be in the market for another wide receiver.
They should look for that big time because McLaurin's not great.
Yeah, McLaurin's on the back end of his career. I think they need another wide receiver there.
Help out Jaden Daniels a little bit.
One that I feel like people have connected and I feel like makes a lot of sense is Deontay Johnson to Commanders. I feel like it won't be expensive.
Right.
I mean,
that's a good one.
He's still very, I'm not going to say good, but I feel like he's an above average wideout right now. I mean, he's solid. I like that. For Cooper Kupp, though, an obvious team I feel like you look at that I think would actually be a good fit is the Steelers. I think the Steelers would actually be a good fit. I mean, like I said, I think their defense is great. I think you have George Pickens there who, listen, I wasn't big on George Pickens, but he's definitely opening my eyes a little bit. So I think you need another wideout, though. I mean, you got
Yeah, I
George
mean, for
Pickens.
sure.
You got who else? You got Calvin Austin, I think.
Yeah, then that's like the young guy.
I mean, you got Roman Wilson, but he's not playing. I think the Steelers are going to try to compete. That's what they're going for this year. Playoffs. They want to make a push. I think if you get a guy like Cooper Kupp, that can definitely help. Having Cooper Kupp and George Pickens as a wide receiver core, I think that would definitely help. Especially because your wide receiver group is so young. And I feel like when you have a guy like Cooper Kupp with Super Bowl experience, he's won a championship. And
It helps.
It helps having another guy in the locker room to lead the pack, especially the receivers. Like I said, you got a young receiving core. Having another guy there will definitely help another veteran.
For sure.
Lead them. You know what I'm saying? That's big time.
So this was supposed to be a big Sunday night football game. When the schedule first came out, there was a lot of hype behind it. That hype has went away big time, as it's the Cowboys-Niners, who are both 500 or worse, which was not expected when this game was going to be played. But Cowboys facing a lot of injuries and offensive problems, and the Niners kind of the same boat. Offensively, there are too many injuries. I mean, Ayuk's now out. Debo, he's been in and out. McCaffrey's out. It's been a rough sledding for both these teams with injuries, and it just doesn't seem like anybody's on the same page anymore.
I think this will be a good game because I think both locker rooms know how important this is. I think you're looking at San Francisco; they're 3-4 right now. They know if they lose another game or two,
it's on the ropes. At least this early.
Yeah, I mean, you might be cooked because again, the season's still early. I mean, there's still 10 weeks left. You don't want to lose a game right now. I mean, like I said, San Francisco's depleted. They just lost Brandon Ayuk, torn ACL and MCL. That's rough. Cowboys, they're missing their edge duo.
I mean, both teams are missing a lot. You have San Fran missing possibly all three receivers.
Yeah.
We'll see if Debo and Juwan come back.
Yeah.
You have Dallas missing your two edge rushers and Deron Bland.
Yeah.
Although Deron Bland, I think is
I think he's close.
I think he was potential to play last week, and they held him out. So I think he might be coming back. But
that'll definitely be big for you guys.
But yeah, I
think this will be a good game because how much it's important for these teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Dallas, it's a bigger game. They're in a tougher division. For San Fran, I mean, they're only a game out of first. For Dallas, with the Washington the way it is, you got to start winning games. Not that the Eagles are particularly good. I think the Eagles. I think they could pass the Eagles if they start playing football again. Good football.
Yep.
But you can't let it get too late. And it starts now. And for a team that doesn't have a particularly easy schedule in Dallas, who you have San Fran, then Atlanta, then Philly, then Houston, then Washington. I mean, that's 5 tough games right there that, I mean, is really going to test your character. And after getting beat 47-9 at home, we'll see where this one goes.
I mean, listen, I think both teams are going to be so energized to win this game. I mean, if you're Dallas, you're definitely coming here with a lot of energy. I mean, you got a rough schedule coming up. And I think this is going to be a really big game for Dallas' defense. I mean, I know they're missing pieces, but at the same time, San Francisco, they're missing CMC. They might be missing their top 3 wideouts.
Yeah.
Purdy's a good quarterback, but he's not Mahomes, Allen, Lamar level guy where he's going to go himself, just go out there and make a play.
Correct.
So Dallas' defense, you really got to shut shit down. You got to shut it down. This is going to be a big game for the defense because Dak, CD, Ferguson, they'll do their thing. So it's us. Can Dallas' defense do what they should against the depleted 49ers?
Yeah,
defense?
I mean, and there's I think Deron Bland will be back, and if Micah comes back and Eric Kendricks comes back, I mean, if you could get some of your guys back, I think that's going to be crucial to win this game. And I mean, if you're Dallas, you look at the bright side. You're 3-0 on the road. You're undefeated. With, I mean, I wouldn't say the easiest schedule, but definitely not the toughest schedule either. You beat Cleveland, who, again, I mean, coming into the season had great expectations.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's a team that just, I mean, fell apart You beat the Giants on the road, which that you take that with no with a grain of salt, and then you beat Pittsburgh on the
I don't know
road.
about that.
You beat Pittsburgh on the road, who at 5-2, only 2 losses. I mean, that looking back on that was a huge win, considering you had a lot of your guys out that game, and you figured out a way to hold them back. But yeah, for sure, this week's a test.
I mean, listen. Before we go on with these next games, I just want to talk about something that just happened this past Sunday Night Football. Jets Steelers. I mean, 37-15. That was horrendous. That was horrendous. I mean, Jets fall to 2-5. I mean, listen, yeah, some guys are injured, but they got pieces. They should not be in the position they're in now, or even losing by 22 points to Pittsburgh.
No, not at all.
I mean, you got Rodgers, who obviously is in his prime no more, but he's still a good quarterback. I mean,
yeah.
Just traded for Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. I mean, you got pieces on the offensive end. You should not, as good as the Steelers' defense is, you should not be putting up 15 points as an offense. That's terrible. That's terrible.
I mean, you said it. I mean, you have Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. Even Lazard, as a third option, isn't terrible.
Lazard's been solid.
And Mike Williams, I mean, that's a fourth-string receiver.
I mean, as a four...
That's what I'm saying. Right.
He's cooked.
He's cooked, but, I mean, as a fourth-string receiver, I mean, how much better are you going to get as a fourth-string receiver? You're either going to get a rookie or a vet. Yeah. So that's not terrible for a fourth-string receiver. And then you have Conk, who... I don't view him as a top tight end, but he's not terrible. And
he's definitely serviceable.
Then Breece Hall, and then Aaron Rodgers. I mean, on paper, it's just a solid offense, and all year they just struggled to put it together.
I mean, like I said, Jets offense played terrible. I mean, Jets defense, 37 points.
Yeah, but this is a defense that I think was a little overhyped because of how good Sauce played. But you have Sauce, you have Quinnen. And then you look at the rest, and it's nothing eye-opening. It's a lot of just good players, not great players, and unfortunately for the Jets, it's just not enough.
I mean, yeah. Listen, you got Will McDonald. He's been solid. I think he has 8 sacks on the year, but I'm seeing some of these sacks, and they remind you know when some sacks are a little questionable. Kinlaw, not good at football. Quinnen, this is not a good year for Quinnen. He has not been.
But all the pressure's on him, and they just shut him down. Unfortunately, for the Jets.
Yeah. So it hasn't been great for him. I mean, they're getting Hassan Reddick back. That's gonna be a big time piece.
That's huge.
Reddick's a good player. I mean, you got your linebackers. Mosley, he might be washed.
He's old.
Yeah,
he's old. I mean,
I think he's cooked.
You can't expect the same from him anymore.
Quincy solid, and then you go to Sauce, DJ Reed, Michael Carter. That's a good cornerback core. It's just also another problem is your safeties. Obviously, not every team has great safeties, but the Jets have a big weakness at safety right now. I mean, Ashton Davis is not playing good football. They just picked up Jalen Mills weeks ago, and he was playing significant snaps for them Sunday night. Yeah. You need at least a serviceable safety, and the Jets are missing that. So not only was their D-line not great, I mean, injuries, Kinlaw is not that good, Mosley's getting old, safety's not that good. I mean, I think this offseason, or even at the trade deadline, you need to go out there, add another piece in the defense if you're still trying to salvage the season.
Yeah, so Frozen Frenzy last night, first time all year, second time ever. All 32 teams played on the same day. 16 games, 32 teams. I mean, it was an eventful night. Eventful night for sure. I mean, you started, one of the early games was Devils Lightning at the Rock. A high-scoring affair, 8-5 Lightning. You had the Sabres, who beat Ottinger for his third career loss in October. Rangers put up 7 with 3 in the first 6:40, 4 in the first 11, easily beating the Canadiens. The Jets with a comeback win to stay 6-0 undefeated. Islanders get shut out on 30 shots. Unfortunate. Hurricanes beat the Oilers in overtime after coming back from down 2-0. McDavid put up his second goal and third. 2-goal game, unfortunately, not enough. Predators pick up first win of the season after a disappointing start. I mean, that's just a team that you thought was going to be a powerhouse. And plenty of season left. Flames, shootout win. Utah shut out for the first time, and a team that's been good all year. And then the Sharks, still winless since October 2022 in October. 0-5-2. And then
Oh my
a
goodness.
6-1 win by the Golden Knights. But let's go to the Ranger game. 7-2.
I mean that was just they completely balled out. I mean,
It was domination.
They had like 4 goals in the first period.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
4 in the first 11.
Zibanejad got a goal. That's when you know
Things are going right.
That's when you know you're cooked as a team. But if Zibanejad scoring off rip, you know you might be cooked.
I think I saw that's his first or his fourth 5-on-5 goal in like 2 years or a year and a half. Like, he doesn't score many 5-on-5.
That's crazy. I mean, you got Panarin. He got a hat trick. Great game from Panarin. My boy Trocheck putting a goal. That's always good to see. And I mean, yeah, Rangers, they got 5 wins on the year. They're number 1 of the standings right now. I mean, they're balling. They're balling.
Yeah, they're definitely taking the East by storm. They got the Capitals on their tail, though, which I don't think many people expected for this Capitals team to kind of be where they are as of right now.
I mean, yes, last year the Capitals, I mean, they made the playoffs, but
got swept.
Yeah,
got swept. And a team that most people didn't really think deserved to be in the playoffs. Thought there were some better teams as in the Red Wings or maybe even the Flyers, but I mean, they made it, they got swept, and now they're coming back, it looks like, with a little vengeance. After losing their opener to the Devils, 4-1, 8 points, and I mean, they're on a roll right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, hockey season's going to continue. I mean, I'm really excited. I think Rangers, let's see what the schedule's looking like coming up. Ooh, they got the tomorrow night Panthers.
Yeah,
that should be a good game.
Yeah, tomorrow night we have a lot of good games as well. 9 games on the schedule. Kicking off 5 games at 7 o'clock. Stars are up in Boston, St. Louis at Toronto, the Devils, Wild, Rangers, and then you kick off with some later games on the West Coast. But yeah, I mean, Rangers against Panthers. Panthers 4-3-1, a little subpar to start the year for their expectations, but nothing to worry about. Rangers still looking for their first regulation loss. Only 1 loss in overtime, and that was to the Utah. And then you got the Wild 4-0-2, still looking for theirs. Flames 5-0-1. So a couple of teams without a regulation loss. The Sharks 10:30 p.m. They got the nightcap, looking for their first win of the season. 7 games in. Without their number 1 overall pick, though, unfortunately. He's been out for a week on the IR. But I think he should return, maybe not this game, but hopefully very soon. But a big slate. And then we go to jumping ahead to Saturday, 14 games. So another big slate of games on the rise starting at 1 p.m. that day. And just a lot of hockey going on this week.
Yeah, and not only that, big time World Series coming up. Yankees,
Huge.
Dodgers, Friday night, game 1. I mean,
what a time to be a New Yorker, right?
yeah, that's a Mets fan. Not really. Not really.
Yeah, but at some point you gotta just appreciate, like, the Mets are.
No, I'm not gonna appreciate.
Mets are just,
I hate the Yankees. I will always hate the Yankees.
I'm not saying root for the Yankees, root for the Dodgers. I'm saying you have to appreciate that the Mets made the NL championship series, because
yes.
they should have never been there. And like during the regular season, like
I mean that's the thing. They started 0-5, and at that point, I remember when they started 0-5, I was like, this is not gonna be a good year. I mean, they completely turned it around, though. I mean,
they did. I mean, even at the All-Star break, they weren't good, and from the All-Star break on, they kind of kicked it into another gear. did what they got to do, made the playoffs, got hot, and that's what it's really all about. Once you get to the playoffs in any sport, it's just who's hot.
I know.
And
I
it was
mean,
the Mets.
yeah.
Unfortunately, ran into a brick wall powerhouse, the Dodgers. I mean,
My main problem with the Mets that series was their pitching. I think they need more. I mean, the amount of runs they allowed, the amount of base runners, it was way too much.
I mean, I think they had the most walks in postseason history in a single postseason.
Yeah,
they walked like 35 plus.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Mets, I want them to go out and get a pitcher. Corbin Burns, come to the Mets.
I think he's content in Baltimore.
I don't know about that. I don't know
after
about that.
making the playoffs this year.
I don't know. Bring Corbin Burns over, but if not, Steve Cohen, if you're listening, Juan Soto, bring Juan Soto
he's
to
off
the
the
Mets.
market.
No,
He's off the
I don't
market.
think so. Until I see him sign that contract, he's not off the market.
He verbally agreed.
Bring Juan Soto to the Mets. No matter what the Yankees offer, whatever you offer him $600 million, you offer him $700 million, you offer $100 million more.
Yeah, but
You offer him everything.
At some point, you're gonna take a little pay cut to be on a championship contending team, and when you're gonna be batting in front of Judge, the MVP, the AL MVP, I mean that only helps your stats because they know they have to pitch to you because if they don't pitch to you, they're just getting a monster behind you. So it only helps you because now you know you're getting pitches to hit.
I mean, listen, like I say, it really depends what Soto is valued.
Right. It depends what he values.
I mean, if you win the World Series, then he feels like I got my championship. He's like, I want to go for the money, or even if he loses, he could say I want to run it back with them, or I want my money. It strictly depends on what Soto wants.
I mean, I
but
think
if he's looking for the money, obviously Yankees definitely could make a competitive offer, but you know what Steve Cohen, he would be willing to go above and beyond.
I mean, Soto already won a championship, and it doesn't seem like he's ever been going. I mean, obviously he's going for money, but I don't think money's his number one, considering that he's won a chip and he's still just going from team to team. It looks like his priority is to win. After Washington, he went to San Diego with Tatis and that lineup. Unfortunately, it didn't work out there. He came to the Yankees. They're in the World Series. So, I mean, maybe he goes to the Mets. It's not out of the picture, but I don't think money is his leading factor as much as it is to be on a winning team.
I mean, you never know. And I mean, you say a winning team, the Mets have a good core. The Mets have a good core going forward. And if you bring in Juan Soto to that core, you look what you can do with Juan Soto.
Agreed.
As a Met.
Agreed, but I think the pitching, like you said, is still subpar, not good enough. And I think that, it'd be wise to let go of Pete, to not re-sign him.
I don't think so. I think you got to keep Pete Alonso, depending on the contract. If he's gonna play hardball with you, like I want this contract, and no matter what, then honestly, I'd be okay with letting him go.
Gotta let him go.
But if he's willing to negotiate,
but it depends. Negotiate what? Like he's not worth more than like $13-14 million.
I think that's crazy. I think around the 20 million mark is fair value.
No, you're out of your mind. That's way too. That's what he's getting now, and he's not. I mean, yeah, he had a good postseason, but he's not playing well in the regular season. So you can't just pay him because he had a good postseason. Like it does. You play 160.
I mean, again, like listen, he hasn't. Like I said, he hasn't been great. He's had his flaws. Fans have given him shit, and listen, I'm not saying it's deserving, but some of it is. But for you, he's been a long-time player for the Mets. He's been a big-time player too. I mean, like I said, you don't make the playoffs without Pete Alonso. You don't get as far as you do without Pete Alonso. We had this argument the other night. You said you can't make it without Francisco Lindor either, and I'm not saying that. Francisco Lindor is the Mets' best player by far, and without him, you're not making it as far either. But I'm saying you have Lindor doing his thing, but you completely remove Alonso from that picture, they're not where they were.
Well, it depends who you sub in, of course. I mean, if you sub in a decent first baseman, you probably are. I mean, Mark Vientos carried the load for a little. Lindor carried the load for a little. So, I mean, it wasn't just like, like Pete Alonso batted 550, 9 home runs. Like,
I mean, obviously.
I think, if you sub in a decent first baseman that's doing just what Pete Alonso does, you'll be perfectly fine, and you could get that for a lot less than $20 million.
Listen, again, I disagree. I like I said, I think Pete Alonso. I think you're under. I think Pete Alonso didn't have a great season, but I think you're underrating him.
No, but just look at his numbers. Like from not even this year, last year was even worse his numbers. And
I know,
and this year, I mean, they were better, but it wasn't great.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, putting him at like $13 million would make him, I think, number 9 or 10 in first baseman pay, which is right like 20 mil. He's like 4, and right now he's not the fourth best first baseman in the league.
I mean, listen, there's still. I don't know if he comes back. I know there's a lot of teams that's probably going to be interested in him. I mean, say what you want. I mean, I still think Alonso's a good player.
He's also 29.
Yeah, I mean, but still, he's a good player. He's a good player. I think, like I said, you got the World Series coming up. You got free agency starting right after that immediately.
Yeah, things go down quick.
Things go down quick. I mean, like I said, no matter what, win or lose, Juan Soto, come down to the Mets, come play with Lindor. Should be fun. Yeah, and listen, I think this is where we'll call it for the first episode of the Primetime Sports Pod. Everyone, hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to follow all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Turn post notifications on. And thanks everyone for watching.